The second season of House of the Dragon has come to an end, and after 8 episodes of drama on and off the screen, the audience is split, with some appreciating the slow burn and rising tension that we grew accustomed to in the early seasons of Game of Thrones, and many others feeling like they were robbed of a promise from season 1, a promise of fire and blood after the dramatic final scene. And whichever side you stand on, I think we can all agree that this season had many issues, and even with several fantastic performances and incredible scenes, the writing was just not on par with the first. And as someone who enjoyed this season but understands its flaws, I want to take the time to explain the biggest problems that held it back. From reducing the number of episodes to working around the writer's strike, there were many challenges the season faced in getting made. But in the end, it always comes down to the writing. Number 1. The Plague of Misaria. Easily the worst aspect of the first season was listening to this woman's horrendous accent.
An obscenity, either tolerated or ignored by the crown.
I don't know what it is or why it was approved, but at least we only got it in small doses as she was mainly a side character. Yet somehow they decided to have her climb the ranks, and by the end of the season she's practically Rhaenyra's most trusted advisor. Now this isn't something that would normally bother me, but it's how they did it that pisses me off.
A moment.
Rather than having her earn the position in a reasonable way, the writers constantly favor Misaria and bend the world around her to accommodate her ascension. From making the twins stupid enough to wear his Kingsguard armor on the boat, just to allow her to spot him right away, saving Rhaenyra's life through blind luck, and using this to secure a position on her council, rather than spending the season in a cell until she earned her trust.
You wish to be rewarded.
As I would think you would wish to reward me.
With a character like Varys, we saw his network of little birds and the many different approaches he takes when communicating. Whether it's ruthless manipulation or him being brutally honest, each scene was submerged with subtext and gave us a better understanding of his character.
Can you free me from this pit? I could. But will I? No. As I said, I'm no hero.
But Misaria is literally here just to be Rhaenyra's cheerleader, never challenging her thought process or giving an interesting perspective. And the information she provides are things that Rhaenyra should already know, and making her look like a fool in order to give Misaria an important role. And it's frustrating to watch as we have a better written version of the same dynamic with Aegon and Otto that was way more satisfying and only elevated their characters.
Perhaps we could just return his sheep. He came all this way.
If you return one herd of sheep, your grace, you'll soon find them all at the foot of your throne expecting the same.
So not only is she the most annoying part of the show, she is now also the worst written, and from her completely unearned position has a major effect on the plot. All while Corlys, the Hand of the Queen, and the one person who should be at her side giving her counsel, spent the majority of the season standing around watching his ship get repaired. And instead of getting more scenes with him at such a crucial moment in his life, we get the rise of Misaria. Even though he's a way better actor, more important to the story, and it would have been 100 times more interesting than watching her kiss ass all season.
How did you let this happen? With my fucking home! Tell me!
I need season 3 to start with that stupid fool Rhaena getting eaten by the dragon for abandoning her family, and then have him fly over to Dragonstone for second breakfast. That would make me happy. Or maybe they can do something with Misaria betraying Rhaenyra after what she saw in the dragon pit and actually make her an interesting character. Either way, get this woman out of my face, please.
By the crown.
Number 2, Daemon's acid trip.
Oh.
Now let's get this out of the way right now. I love the Harrenhal scenes and how much they did for Daemon's character. I love the aesthetic of the castle and the reintroduction of the horror element, along with the MVP of the season, Simon Strong, the most reasonable man in all of Westeros.
I'm claiming Harrenhal.
Apparently so.
Getting a chance to see the real feelings of one of the most interesting characters in the show, and watching him find out the true meaning of leadership and what it takes to be king. Performed excellently by the incredible Matt Smith and introduced several new characters along the way.
I see no reason to cast aside loyalty, no matter how loathsome I may find her representative, the prince.
King. Mind your tongue, boy.
So why is it on this list, you might ask? And the answer for me is simply the audience's perception of Daemon. I think if you took 5 fans of this show and asked them to describe him, you would get 5 very different answers, as the effort to make him complex has almost been too effective, resulting in him being misunderstood by not only the characters in the show, but the fanbase itself.
I named Daemon Master of Laws, but you said he was a tyrant.
As Master of Coin, you said he was a spendthrift that would beggar the realm. Putting Daemon in command of the City Watch was your solution.
A man of action, obsessed with the Targaryen dynasty and the potential he sees for their house, and is determined to find his position and what role he has to play in this story. The battle commander of Team Black, and a character you could never quite predict.
Come out, Dreya! Where are you? I'm gonna feed you to your own crabs!
So taking a man like that and locking him in a haunted castle all season was a massive creative risk, especially for the people who are more interested in his actions than his arc. Removing the agency of one of the most action-oriented characters and exploring areas of his conscience that a large portion of the audience had no interest in pursuing. And a fan base that wanted fire and blood ended up getting venison and peas.
That venison is well aged. Don't let it waste.
And as much as I enjoyed his arc this season, I can completely understand the people that weren't on board with his direction.
Take your mount again. We're flying out. We're going to King's Landing.
To what end?
Killing Vhagar. I cannot face that hoary old bitch alone.
Take Aemon for example, someone who also had unconventional scenes to explore his true feelings and develop his character. But we got to see him redeem himself and take action in the very next episode and for the rest of the season.
Every king needs a hand. I'll make it your responsibility.
My prince, it is an honor I've never considered for myself.
Not to serve as hand. You towed to fetch him.
Daemon didn't quite get the opportunity for a massive payoff, and after waiting almost 2 years to see him again, just to find out that it's going to be another long wait before he could see him in action, I could understand why people are pissed. But I still feel like a large aspect of his story is not being appreciated by most of the audience.
I will speak of my brother as I wish. You will not.
That you spend your time here, in the library, reading accounts of the same dead dragon lords whose legacy you claim has no hold on you.
What are you saying? My brother would murder me, take my crown. Are you? Please. Daemon has ambition, yes, but not for the throne. He lacks the patience for it.
The only thing this man wants is a strong Targaryen house, and he's been convinced that he's the only one that could bring them back to their former glory. And after expressing his disdain for prophecies and visions, I think the idea of seeing the skeptic being tortured by the ghost of his past in order to understand his future is pretty brilliant. But none of that really matters if the audience is bored out of their minds.
Help me!
Number 3. The Desecration of Allison's Hightower.
The war be fought. Many will die. And the victor will eventually ascend the throne.
Throughout the entire build-up to Season 2, they have pushed the blacks versus the greens, pick your side, taking advantage of the fantastic story structure and the amount of interesting characters on both sides, and leaving it up to the audience to decide who to root for. Yet it almost feels like they immediately dropped that whole idea and are going out of their way to make the blacks morally superior and lower the greens as much as they can, making the same mistake that Game of Thrones made in the later seasons, ruining the grey nature of the story and essentially making it the good guys versus the bad. This entire season has shown Allison slowly accept how much damage she has caused by being a terrible mother, and just how powerless she has now become, with the wheels in motion for an all-out war, and her sons ready to burn the realm, and finding out that all this could have potentially been avoided if it wasn't for her stupid mistake. And we watch her continue to unravel, sleeping with her royal guard, and possibly preventing him from stopping a murder. And instead of consoling her son as he weeps his heart out, she runs off for more toxic sex with Cole, forgetting to hide the moon tea or even locking the damn door in the first place, even going so far as disrespecting the king directly as she now has nothing to lose.
What would you have me do, Mother?
Do simply what is needed of you. Nothing.
The position she's in is the end result of her slowly being crushed by this system, but when it comes to her choices as a mother, there's nobody else to blame. Cersei Lannister, with all her faults, loved her children, and Rhaenyra is practically Mother of the Year. But they made sure to establish Alicent's failures and show her attempt to finally take accountability. And after almost losing one son and getting publicly rejected by the other, she decides to run off and ruin her entire story as she makes her way over to Dragonstone to talk to Rhaenyra. When Rhaenyra snuck into King's Landing, they took advantage of the fact that they were depending on fishing boats to get food, thanks to Corlys's blockade. They have a conversation that is meaningful to both characters and beneficial to the plot. It wasn't perfect, but they put a great deal of effort into justifying it.
You saw Allison?
Yes, I did.
You could have been taken or slain.
I inherited 80 years of peace from my father. Before I was to end it, I needed to know that there was no other path.
But this scene is a complete disaster. Maester Orwell is not Davos Seaworth. How the hell is he supposed to get Allison to Dragonstone or even out of King's Landing? Since the very first episode, we have seen this man keep his mouth shut and stay out of trouble. And now you want to convince me that he's a part-time smuggler, willing to risk his life taking the queen out of the city. And Allison, after everything she has been through with Otto to get to this moment, decides to sell out her whole family and reveal Aemon's battle plans, telling Rhaenyra that she will have the guards drop their swords so she can take the throne. As if Rhaenyra's ass touching the seat will somehow insta-kill Vhagar and make Aemon bend the knee. Did you ingest something weird in that lake, Allison? Did you fall and hit your head? How is this her plan? How can you guys cheat and have this scene again after establishing there's no going back?
What of Aegon? He still heeds his mother. I believe I can prevail upon him to bend the knee if
No,
needed.
still! You defend him. If I am to take the throne, I must put an end to the opposition.
She makes it crystal clear that she needs to publicly take Aegon's head in order to properly secure her claim to the throne. Something that Otto warned her about all those years ago.
Will you shrink from what you set out to do, or will you see it through? A son for a son.
Oh no, not you too, Rhaenyra. What the what? Did you forget about your nephew Jaehaerys? The little boy who was slain in his bed? For all Allison knows, you ordered this directly. How the hell can you say a son for a son after how you felt about his death?
You struck down a child.
It was a mistake.
Allison, can you kindly remind her, please? Oh my god, not this again. Please, please, Allison, for the love of God, tell her. Bullshit. Bullshit. This is not Alicent Hightower. This has to be some shape-shifting faceless man or something. There's no way you're telling me that after everything I've seen with this woman, that she would give up her son that easily. And if this is strictly about ending the war, then bringing a fucking knife and trying to stab Rhaenyra mid-sentence would have been a better plan than this. This not only makes her a treacherous rat and the worst mother of all time, but it also makes her a complete coward. Why would you do this to her character and ruin any investment I could possibly have with her going forward? She spends the entire season accepting the role that she had in destroying Aegon's life, only to consent to his murder to the woman who more than likely just had his son killed and traumatized her daughter.
The realm will not accept her, and to secure her claim, she'll have to put your children to the sword. She'll have no choice. Either you prepare Aegon to rule, or you cleave to Rhaenyra and pray for her mercy.
Your very life could be forfeit. Aemon's as well. She could move to cut off any challenge to her succession.
Then I want...
You are the challenge! You are the challenge, Aegon! Simply by living and breathing!
I must take Aegon's head. And I have to do it for all to see. You know this. Choose.
You just threw a grenade on her entire character arc and I have no idea how to redeem this. And once again, instead of fire and blood like they teased in the trailer for the finale, the episode ends with this demented conversation and one of the most random character assassinations I've ever seen. The same woman who stood up to a dragon to defend her son is now willing to betray him and her entire family, with a plan that makes no fucking sense, all while managing to ignore the death of her grandson. This was a massive mistake and a stain on this entire series.
Throw down your sword and remove your cloak, Sir Creston.
This season did an amazing job of redeeming Rhaenys and Criston Cole after the character damage they received in episode 9. Misaria can get eaten by a dragon in the intro to season 3 and boom, problem solved. Even Daemon and the people who hated the Harrenhal scenes will be all forgiven once we see him in battle again. But this is permanent damage that there's no coming back from, and I hope the writers understand what they just committed to. Because at its best, this show is incredible, and it can't be compared to anything else on television when it comes to an immersive experience. So I think it's really important to discuss its flaws and have a clear idea of what needs to be changed, so they can get back to form and make the show that I know that they're capable of making.
Come on!
And for fuck's sakes, can we get more Otto scenes? Stop wasting this man.